A lot to talk about with the Liverpool versus Atalanta game. I think there's a lot of layers to this whole thing, and I think it goes beyond this game. They get the win today, but don't move forward into the Europa League, and it hurts even more knowing that we go into this season thinking that we are a Champions League team playing in the Europa League, and it turns out that that's not necessarily the case, right? Beaten handily by Atalanta over two legs, and a masterclass in defense by them. And hats off to them and their supporters and their coach. They had an amazing game plan, but I think some of that blame does again fall back on not the players, believe it or not the players, but I think Jurgen Klopp this time. And I know there's been a lot of talk going around about the timing of when he said he made his announcement and whether or not we should have a parade or not and a trophy and all of this kind of stuff. And my answer to that is yes. I think we should continue to go towards the end of the season and continue to fight for the Premier League. We're still in that, by the way. Only 2 points off the top, and I think it's a little bit too soon to say that we're out of it. With the way that things have kind of gone in British football over the past week, basically is it's not been great in Europe, right? Obviously, Man City is out, Arsenal is out, we're out, West Ham just got knocked out as well, and you have to think about, man, that's tough. And now we lose that extra Champions League spot, which puts a little bit more pressure on some of the other teams fighting for the top four. But beyond that, you have to think about what it's going to do to this Manchester City squad to go into extra time and be drained and then go into an FA Cup semifinal and potentially lose that one too, because you never know what you're going to get with Chelsea, who are so streaky. They're hot sometimes and then they're cold sometimes, right? What could that could potentially do for this Manchester City side's mental? Because as we can see, it's not the same Manchester City side from last year. And same thing with Arsenal. And I've said this in a short before, is that you can't lose 5 and 6 games and expect to compete for the title. Normally, you can't even lose 3 and 4 games against Manchester City and expect to compete for the title, even when they're off of it. So it's going to be the title's still kind of wide open. It's still there for Liverpool, and if anything, that leaves just 6 games left for Jurgen Klopp to right the ship and give that fairy tale ending that he really wants with one more league title. But it makes you look back on Jurgen Klopp's time and think, what if? What could have been? What are some of the things that we could have achieved under him? And we've almost kind of written the story of being the almost team or the what if team over the past 9 years. And I don't think necessarily that's a bad thing. Believe it or not. I mean, it's made us believe again. It's made us dream again. It's taken us from mid-table obscurity, qualifying for Champions League here and there, to being a bona fide top 10, top five club in the world. And we've grown so much in the past 9 years. Could we have won more? Absolutely. One of everything, and then a couple, League Cup titles is it's good. Honestly, it is good, but could there be more at the standard that you want it to be at with how Pep Guardiola has done things and Sir Alex Ferguson has done things? These are legendary managers, generational managers, which I think Jurgen is just maybe a notch underneath those types of managers, right? And it's all off of scenario and timing too. I mean, could you imagine if Sir Alex and Pep Guardiola coached at the same time, right? In their primes. I know Pep kind of was coming on at the end of Sir Alex's time. What would that look like, right? That Man City versus Man United rivalry. Would we have as many Sir Alex championships as we do now? I don't know, right? And he had Arsene Wenger to compete against him as well, which I think a lot of people look back on Arsene Wenger's time and they think, man, he should have probably won more too, with how good of a manager he was. And I think maybe that's a little bit of the Arsene Wenger syndrome that Jurgen Klopp has got going on right now, is that, damn, you just came up during a time where there was a manager that lived in Manchester that was just so damn good. And it's unfortunate that you never got to get the accolades and the trophies that you probably deserved as a manager. And I think that's probably how his time at Liverpool is going to kind of be earmarked, is that he might be that what if manager. Like, man, what if? What if they got that extra point? What if this, situation didn't happen in this season? We'd be looking at this many titles and that many titles. And it's unfortunate, but he still has time to right the ship. But the thing is that what we saw today, there has to be changes. There has to be some different things that kind of go into these last 6 games, because you look at the tactics and there's a lot of players that are being played out of position. And I think with him coming out and potentially Ruben Amorim coming in, I think it actually might benefit some of these players like Dominic Szoboszlai, who's being played as a box to box eight, in a defensive box to box eight, where he thrives as a 10, as a free roaming 10 on the left and the right wing, and playing in half spaces in the final third. That's where he thrives the most. And you can't say, oh, he's no good. I mean, look at some of his performances for Hungary, for his country. I mean, I think his numbers, I think he has like a goal contribution for every game that he's played in, and he's kind of single-handedly willing Hungary into the Euros. So it's kind of crazy when you think about that. Same thing with Cody Gakpo, where he gets to play on his favorite left wing and how well he's doing for the Netherlands instead of a false nine under Jurgen Klopp. And I also don't think Harvey Elliott is a box to box eight like he plays him. I think he's more of a similar to Dominic Szoboszlai, a free roaming 10. And I think we can get way more out of him in that. And when he was playing for Fulham, he almost played as that, as like a right winger who would drift into the half spaces as well. Fabio Carvalho is another one who's experiencing a renaissance at Hull City, and a lot of times he was kind of shoehorned into that false nine, where now he's playing as a 10, as a number 10 in that Coutinho role, and he's absolutely on fire, right? Look at today. Alexis McAllister kind of shoehorned into that false not false nine, excuse me, the number 6 role, the defensive midfielder role. When we know his best role is a box to box 8, we know that. We've seen that in the past couple weeks where he's been playing out of his mind. Why is he playing as a 6 now? We don't know. Same thing with Trent Alexander-Arnold. We know that he probably is more so of a wide right midfielder, or even a central midfielder, a deep line creator. And instead of having him just being, this weird role where he's kind of a right back, but then he's kind of a deep line quarterback, maybe just put him there, right? And then have the cover on the right hand side. So you look at some of the tactics and you're just like, man, this is tough. And then having that favoritism towards Mohamed Salah on the right-hand side, where he hasn't been great in these past handful of weeks. Sometimes you have to make tough decisions as managers. And I think that is probably Jurgen Klopp's biggest weakness as a manager over his time at Liverpool, is not being able to make tough decisions with some of his favorite players who are probably some of his best friends. Looking back at the Milner and the Henderson days and the Fabinho days, where those guys were faltering and their form was absolutely terrible, but he kept going back to the well on those guys. And it's looking very similar with Mohamed Salah, right? Where Mo's, had a real big drop off as of late in terms of form. And it's just, maybe we have a talk with Mo and say, hey, we need the levels to go up. The levels got to go up, or we're going to have to start playing other people in those positions, right? Or maybe now that you don't have the pace, let's look at moving you more central. How can we tweak your game? How can we change your game? That's what great managers do, right? They have those talks and they have tough conversations with players. And I'm sure Klopp has had tons of them, but just not with some of those players that he just loves and trusts so much, right? Um, it's tough. It's definitely tough. But I think these Liverpool players, they're definitely going to benefit from potentially Ruben Amorim coming in, because I think they fit his system a lot more, where he plays with 4 in the midfield, 2 wide midfielders essentially, 2 central deeper line midfielders who like to control the game and who like to spray passes long and stuff like that. McAllister and Trent, right? Um, and then 2 more advanced number 10s essentially playing behind a striker. Szoboszlai could fit there. Harvey could fit there. Carvalho could fit there. Gravenberch could play there. I think they would enjoy playing that role, and those 2 number 10 roles behind the striker. Darwin Núñez dropping deep, linking up plays like Gyökeres does. It just fits so well into that system. The left midfielder being Robbo, being able to be more creative, and he is probably one of the most creative wing backs that we've probably ever seen. But unfortunately, he has to deputize in defense a lot as of late. What could have been is the big thing that's probably going to be said at the end of this season, unfortunately. I still have belief though. I still think Liverpool can get something out of the season. We already got something in the Carabao Cup, but I think there's one last turn in this journey. But I think Klopp's going to have to change things big time these last 6 games. But let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. It really helps the channel out a whole ton. And if you love my content, I would very, very be appreciative of helping us get to 700 subs by the end of this month. I think we can do it. I appreciate all of you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.